أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الواحد الأحد الحكيم الصمد الذي كان من عز صفاته أنه لم يلد ولم يولد وعرفنا بوحدانيته بقوله ولم يكن له كفوا أحد والصلاة والسلام على العبد المؤيد الرسول المسدد المصطفى الأمجد المحمود الأحمد أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتابه المجيد وفرقانه الحميد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قد أفلح من زكاها وقد خاب من دساها كذبت ثمود بطغواها إذ انبعث أشقاها صلوات پڑھ لیجیے بابا جی Dear brothers and sisters, first of all, in order to appreciate the iftar and all what the sponsoring families have done and making dua that may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept it from them and give them inshallah khairu barakat, recite a loud salawat for them. Also, as you might have noticed, we are blessed with a wonderful team of volunteers who are really serving the community in best possible way. These are also fasting people, brothers and sisters. They have families, they have jobs, and they go through a lot, and then they give a hand almost on daily basis. They come here early and they go back very late at night. For all of these volunteers, for their sihhat o salamti, khair o barakat, please recite a loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Brothers and sisters, tonight is the final majlis of this series of 3 majalis. As I had mentioned last night, I will try my best. I have so much on my mind, particularly because it is last majlis, and this is about the legacy and the outstanding contributions of Amirul Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam. And of course, we are all here to give our shoulder to that Shabih Taboot, to this Gharib Kufa, this mazloom awwal in the history of Islam, and we have inshallah Masaib and Noha and Matam, and of course tonight is the second night of Qadr. We will be performing Amal, so keeping all that in mind, I trust the ability and the knowledge and intelligence of my audiences. You may see at certain points where I will be kind of going in a faster speed, realizing that we don't have much time, and I'm sure that all of you have background with these things. And if you had any question, if anything you felt that I didn't make it very clear, I am a local guy. You can come anytime and you can sit with me and you can talk to me and you can ask me the details. By the way, yesterday I received a question. It was not a question, it was a request of a reference, which I really appreciate. It's good that people should come to the speakers and ask for references. And I will inshallah provide to the brother that reference. But when we were saying that our sixth Imam had said that if Kufa is full of Shias, then why can't one brother in need put his hand in the pocket of another brother and take whatever he wants to take? So why he is hesitating, or why this other brother is not feeling comfortable with that? So basically, Imam didn't want to promote the lazy culture, or Imam didn't want to make people kind of putting their hands into the pockets of each other. This was a way of explaining that community should be that close with each other. This is a expression that we need to understand, that Imam, as husband and wife, for example. Now, we give example, husband and wife, we are old people, we give the old examples. We don't know. Today everybody is Dutch. And sometime I receive the complaints from the wives or husbands that they have problem with each other, that they used each other's credit card or each other's, for example, money. But we are old people. I am giving you the example of our old culture, that as at home, husband or wife, or if your children are very mature and you know that you trust their ability and you trust their choices, then if you find out that any member of the family has gone to your wallet and took some money from it, you don't mind. You know that it was a genuine need and it was your own wife, or it was your own husband, or it was your own son, it was your own daughter. And you know that it must have been a very genuine need. It was something good for family, so you don't mind. Imam wants the whole Shia community actually to reach at that level of understanding and harmony. That was the point which I was trying to make. Recite a salawat. That people are that close with each other, and they trust each other, and they love to accommodate each other and want to spend on each other. So I thought that let me at least make one comment to make you understand that it is not only about wallet or money, but it is basically that closeness of community and being concerned about each other and being, for example, that much kind and willing to really spend whatever you have for each other. Imam alayhi salatu wasalam wanted to see all of his Shia as a community, just as a family of wilayat of Muhammadu ali Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. No, my point today is that we want to see, when we are talking about Imam Ali as the best product produced by prophet of Islam, if we want to look around and see that we have to introduce someone that who was the best student, the best disciple, best companion, best follower, and the best product of the 23 years of work of Prophet. If we have to give a name of not 3 people or 2 people, only one. Because if we will ask 3, again people will give the similar answer. You know that. Among children, among youth, among elderly. No, we want just one. Only one person, one name. And then we have to put on merits and prove that by what standards we are saying. If we go with that, of course, our pick is going to be Maula-e Kainat, Amirul Mu'mineen, Imamul Muttaqeen, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam. And I'm sure that if there are people who go through merits, they won't find anybody else other than Ali. But if we say that, I want to share with you some logic behind it, some rationale, some merits of Imam Ali. That why he was that special, why he was number one, and why he was the best product produced by Prophet or by Islam. There were many leaders, and we always hear their names. And of course, there were many companions and many people and many leaders who emerged from the company of Prophet, and Prophet produced them, and Prophet had influence on them. And many leaders came later. But remember about leaders, there are leaders who impress only the common men. And there are leaders who impress only the elites and brains and minds and intellectuals. And then there are very few people that who can impress a common man and also an intellectual at the same time. Because these people have to find something common. Their criteria are different, their intelligence and appreciations are different, their tastes are different. Someone who can impress intellectuals and those very educated people and scholars and leaders and thinkers and philosophers and brains, most of the time won't be able to impress the common person, ٹھیلے والے کو اور وہ ریڑی والے کو اور وہ بیچارہ جو just high school dropout or only did maybe 1 year or 2 years at college, he will not be impressed by that leader. And then also there are people that who can impress these common people, masses. They are heroes of masses. And masses are ready to die for them, and they fight for them, and they think this is the only guy in the world. But then if you bring their hero among the elites and among the educated people and among the professionals and among the scholars and among the intellectuals, they are not impressed by that hero at all. They don't buy him. This is a very common thing. If I don't have to give you example, you know by your own experience. Within our own community, you can find examples. It's very impressed to a common man just with some appearance, with some oratory, with some techniques of getting popular among people. And there are people who are very popular among the common people. But then they have no appeal among elites or the educated, and then there are people who are very popular among the educated one, but they don't have any appeal for the common ones. That's one thing, keep in mind. Very rarely you will come across with a leader or with an scholar or with a dignitary that he has appeal on both sides. A common man and also this intellectual and learned and educated appreciate him at the same level. The other thing is, we have seen that many times it happened with leaders, and it happens that sometimes people are very much expert in winning the popularity, becoming popular, influencing people, becoming very famous among people quickly whenever they just need one exposure, they just need one encounter, they just need one meeting. You bring them in people, give them podium or give them one chance, and here you will see that they can make the miracle, and everybody is now in line asking for card or asking for the email and asking for the Twitter and asking for the your address, and you see one exposure, one meeting, one lecture, one appearance, and you see so many people impressed. Or you lived in a family, in a group of people for few time, little time, and then you can bring so many people in your influence. But then what happens? Many of these people, they lose their popularity and their influence very soon. It doesn't take, as they become very popular very quickly, they lose their popularity also very quickly. Here, they become very popular, commanding, and heroes, and people are in lines for them, and then within weeks, months, or a few years, you see that one after another, people are leaving, people are complaining, people are disappointed, people saw their true colors, people saw their true capabilities, and then you see people taking distance, and they leaving or losing their influence and their effect, whatever they have. And Amirul Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib has a beautiful saying on that. He says, Man wuzi'a bila kifayatin wuzi'a bila jinayatin. He says, if somebody becomes very popular and reaches to a very high position without merits, without qualifications, then without doing anything wrong, at one day you will see he is flat on the earth and he is not there and he will come down. Because it was just an accident. Accidentally he became popular, and accidentally also he will become unpopular. Because he was not qualified for that. He didn't have any merits. Without character, without characteristics, without... So, we see in the history of leaders, people becoming very popular and then losing their popularity and losing their influence. Again, rarely, as we saw that rarely there is somebody who can impress common person and the intellectual. Rarely you will see leaders that when they become popular, their popularity over the time keeps always increasing and it doesn't go down. Their popularity never fades away, rather it always increases, and by time they become more and more and more popular. Very quick example for you, for Taqrib-e-Zehni, that you understand my point. One great mujtahid from Iran came to Pakistan. Now he is one of the grand Maraje, Ayatollah Sheikh Hussain Noori. He is one of the those 5-6 grand Maraje. He was invited by my teacher in Lahore to stay in Pakistan and become the head of the Hawza Ilmiya of Pakistan. Because we don't have any mujtahid in Pakistan, so the dream was to bring somebody from Najaf or Qom and keep him in Pakistan and then run a Hawza at the level of ijtihad. No marja or no mujtahid was ready to leave Najaf or Qom and come to Pakistan. At least Ayatollah Hussain Noori accepted the invitation to at least come and pay a visit to Pakistan. So he came, he stayed for some time, he did some travels, he met ulama, he met leaders, he saw the community, and finally he made his mind that he is not going to stay in Pakistan and he will go back to Iran. And he came back, and now he is Grand Marja. At that time he was not Marja, he was only a Mujtahid. And you understand the difference of a Mujtahid and Marja Taqleed, I don't have to explain that. But when he was going back, he shared his observations of Pakistan and Pakistani Shi'i community. And he said that I enjoyed my stay in Pakistan. I learned so many new things about Shia faith which I never knew or practiced in Iran. MashaAllah, you are more rich community than ours. You know more about the Shayyo than from the people who are the original people of the Shayyo from Iran and Iraq. And he pointed out many things. And one of the things he pointed out, he said, this society is not ready to appreciate a scholar at the level of ijtihad among themselves. And if a mujtahid will come and stay here, either he will do zulm with himself or he will do zulm with these people. And we know what happened with Sayyid Jalali in our own city, so we can understand, I think we can appreciate that what our Noori said, we had some experience in our own city, Chicago. Then he says that in your community, basically people are impressed by only either appearance or they are impressed by the voice. پھیپھڑے کا امتحان ہے, دماغ کا نہیں ہے. Then they are impressed by your گلے کا امتحان and the voice, how loud you can scream and how loud you can yell, and then how much acting you can do while you are sitting on the minbar, how much up and down you can jump. By the way, I was reading Muharram, reciting Muharram in London a few years ago, and I spoke with my son of my host. I asked him, young man, this is always we ask people, just tease them. I asked him, I want to see you an alim. He was an elementary student. I said, one day I will take you to Qom and you have to become an alim. He said, I can't. It was London. So I said, why you can't? He said, I can't because I can't shout. So, I can't shout. So then I am not qualified for becoming an alim. So because the alim is supposed to shout, yell, scream, jump up and down while he is sitting on the minbar. And he says, because your community gets impressed only by these tactics, and one can do these kind of things only for a limited years. For a limited years. اس کے بعد پھر نہ کمر میں اتنا زور رہتا ہے نہ سینے میں اتنا زور رہتا ہے, گلا بھی دکھنے لگتا ہے. and then you lose the voice, you lose the stamina, you don't have that much power anymore, and an old age comes, and then you fade away, and then a young man comes on the member, and he takes over, and this old man is forgotten. So the point is, when people are impressed, and then he says, he gave example of Iran and Iraq. He said people in Iran and Iraq, they enjoy those speakers and reciters. We have many more than yours, Zakireen and Wa'izeen and these Roza Khan and these people who do all that. But our masses know that their job is only to do this, what they are doing, and they know their limitations and they know their boundaries. And they don't make bay'at on their hands, and they don't start worshipping them as the most knowledgeable person. And on the other hand, we have these ulama sitting at Hawza, and people get impressed by their piety, by their taqwa, by their spirituality, and by their knowledge. And when people get impressed by someone's spirituality and someone's knowledge and someone's taqwa, everybody knows that taqwa, spirituality, and knowledge is always increasing as the age increases. As the age increases, the knowledge increases, the experience increases, the spirituality increases, taqwa increases. And he says that is why ulama in Najaf and Qom, even if they are on wheelchair and even if they are in their 90s and even if they hit their 100 years age, still people are going to go and kiss their hand and just to pay a visit to them and do their ziyarat, even if they are not speaking and even if they are not giving any lectures. But what happens in your community, here you lose the taqat and here you lose the voice, and here you are nobody in your community. I don't want to stay with a community which has this kind of style. Recite a salawat. Back home in Pakistan, the old people, they can remember what happened with Maulana Muhammad Bashir Fateh Texla. They can remember what happened with Allama Hafiz Kifayat Hussain. آپ کے حبیب بینک والوں نے بھی first they agreed to pay for his treatment. It was very expensive treatment. And their question from medical board was that whether when after all this he will be still reciting majlis as he was used to. And the board of doctors say we cannot guarantee that. And the chances are that he won't be able. Then they say it is not worth spending that much money. This was Habib. For an alim who spent his life for the community and who was pride of Shia community in whole India and Pakistan, community was not ready to pay for his treatment because now he was not able to deliver the same kind of majlis as he was used to do before. Because they were not impressed by his character. They were not impressed by his taqwa. They were not impressed by his piety. They were impressed only by his speech. And you can give a speech only for a certain time. And then after that, you become speechless. Recite a salawat. So the criteria which we are setting here, that people become popular, and then their popularity fades away because they won the popularity for some reasons. No, time changed, they changed, people changed, whatever. Sometime you change, sometime people change, sometime circumstances change. It's not only that only you change, but we always think that he has changed. I am always the same person. While change is everywhere. Everybody goes through this change. And then, my brothers and sisters, many leaders are popular only when they are around, when they are alive. But here they go away and here they die. People remember them only for haftum, chehlum, pehli barsi, dusri barsi, tisri barsi, aur uske baad inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Nobody remains fan of anybody forever. And people start forgetting. And I'm talking only about popularity. Now, if you talk about influence, the influence doesn't remain that much if you leave the stage. If you are not around, your influence all is dead. And then somebody else comes and he influences. It is just like if you go in philosophy, if you go in science, if you go in any area, many inventors, many theologians, many philosophers, many scholars, they came up with a new theory, they came up with a new invention, they had influence, but then somebody came later, changed the theory, changed everything, and now the old person is forgotten and the new person is on the stage. This was all tamheed. Now, keeping that in mind, if you look in the Islamic history and see among all those people who were around the Prophet, and I'm asking all the people around the Prophet, who was the one who was able to become a hero and become popular among a common man and also among the people who were men of brain and men of intellect? Someone who impresses a person like Bilal, someone who impresses a person like Fizza, a person like Kambar, who is just a labor. Kambar is a labor class. He is a servant, slave. And he comes in contact with Imam Ali and he becomes the kind of fadai. He becomes a fan of Ali. And he enjoys the company of Ali and he becomes the shadow of Ali. So you go at that level, and then when you go among the people of knowledge, people of appreciation, people of understanding, and if you go over there, equally somebody commands the influence. Can you find anybody other than Ali Murtaza alayhi salatu wassalam? A person that Abu Zar, Sahabi Rasul Abu Zar, was a very picky Sahabi of Nabi. Everybody knows what this third Khalifa Osman has gone through. I don't have to give you the details. You know, finally Abu Zar was put in exile because he was not satisfied with the performance of this third Khalifa Uthman. And he had the anxiety and comments even about the previous ones. Person like Salman al-Farsi. Salman al-Farsi was Iranian, but he was intellectual. He had come from a civilized society. He had come from a royal family. He was a prince. And then he leaves and then he goes and he becomes a monk. And he had the knowledge of faith. He had seen the dunya. And then finally, he found this information as a monk that there is a chance of another Nabi coming in Arabia. And that is why Salman Farsi makes and he comes into Medina and he settles in Medina. So a man like Salman Farsi, if you see him among all these companions of Prophet, you will not see him as a fan and as a close companion of anyone other than Ali Murtaza alayhi salatu wassalam. And there were many other companions of Prophet who had the taste of knowledge. So Imam Ali is the Imam who has the appeal to everyone, to common people and to the people of knowledge and people of intellect. And then also he is the one that when he became popular, you start from any time. His popularity was always on the rise from the time we see the time of Imam Ali. Yes, there were times when the governments were against him. The media of that time was against him. The establishments were against him. But Imam Ali still remained the popular man, and then his popularity was always on the rise. And I will give you the example. There was a time when they abandoned him, and because of the interests of Islam, he doesn't come and he doesn't fight with them. He goes and sits quietly. And when I say sits quietly, doesn't mean that he retired. Meaning on this particular issue, he didn't make any fuss anymore. Otherwise, he was the most active man of the community and most active man of the society. But he didn't make any fuss anymore on this issue. And they tried to manage for some time and to be the leaders and the managers of the community, and he was put behind. But then within 25 years, what happened? This whole city of Medina and all those who had come from Egypt and all those who had come from Iraq, now they are all standing in front of the door of Abul Hasan, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam, begging him to come out, and we all want to make bay'at on your hand. While others were going to people, asking for bay'at, planning for bay'at, lobbying for bay'at, and here the whole community comes on the door of Ali to beg him to come out and accept the bay'at. And then, when he becomes actively the ruler of the time, his popularity is gradually again increasing. He got worst kind of enemies against him, who were using all the techniques for character assassination. And Imam Ali was not a man that who could fight back in the same way. You know, when they were bribing and they were buying people and they were playing all the dirty tricks and lobbying for support, Imam Ali was a man of principle. He never did any of these things. Remain on the piety, remain on the right path, on the higher ground. But then what happened? Day after day, day after day, day after day, we saw the other people were now losing the ground, and Ali was the one that who was gaining the ground. Ali was the one that who was gaining the ground, and then finally what happened? They martyred him, and still there were difficult times for Ali. He had opposition. There were people who were under the propaganda, and we will mention a portion of that in Masaib. But then, see, the real life of Ali starts, as I said yesterday, after his shahadat. While most of the people, they lose their influence, they lose their legacy, they lose their power after their death when they go in grave, and Ali becomes more popular and Ali gains more control and more name and more fame after becoming Shaheed. I'm sure you are aware that for first almost 2 centuries, there was a time when they were used to make a list of Khulafai Rashidin. They were used to believe only 3 Khulafa as Khulafai Rashidin. There was a time that the Khalifa Rashid is only first, second, third, and then there is no Khilafat Rashida. And it was a time when people were cursing him from Mimbar. And there was a time when people were not allowed to mention a hadith on his behalf. His names were not being mentioned in the chain of ahadith. It was forbidden to name your son in the name of Ali. This was a time in 1st century and 2nd century that people were not naming their children in the name of Ali. And they cannot mention hadith on his behalf. In Sahih Bukhari we have hadith. There is an incident mentioned. And the riwayat is from Aisha, where she is mentioning a story, and she says it was Prophet, and it was uncle of Prophet, and it was somebody, this person, that person, and there was somebody else. There was somebody else. So everybody is mentioned in Sahih Bukhari by name in the riwayat of Aisha, and then there was somebody else also. Ibn Abbas, ulama, Sunni ulama, they wrote in commentary, Ibn Abbas said this somebody else was Devar. This somebody else was, یہ حضرت عائشہ کے دیور تھے اور بھابھی ان کو پسند نہیں کرتی تھی, نام لینا بھی پسند نہیں کرتی تھی. So she didn't like even to name Ali, and she said only somebody else was there also. That was a time that hadith is being mentioned, everybody else is being mentioned by name, but Ali's name is also not being taken. And Ali is being cursed. Ali is being abandoned. Ali's name cannot be taken. Ali's name cannot be given to their children. My brothers and sisters, if it was somebody else, today we wouldn't have any memories of that individual. The historical blackout, the historical censorship, the amount of money, the amount of power which was used to eliminate Ali, if it was used for anybody else, today we would not even hear the name of that person. But then you see the character of Ali, then you see the charisma of Ali, then you see this piety and taqwa and tawakkul and contribution of Ali, that after all that pressure and after all that effort which was made, within a few, it was within the 2nd century that Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal comes and he writes a book and he says, no, Khulafai Rashideen are not 3, Khulafai Rashideen are 4. And it was the 4th Imam of Ahlus Sunnah. It was Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal who brought the name of Ali back in the list of Khulafai Rashideen. That is a comeback of Ali, that now he has come back in the list of at least the Khilafat Rashida. And then from there starts the new legacy of Ali. When people like Hassan Basri, when people like Sufyan Suri, when people like Abu Yazid Bustami, when these Urafa, these Sufiya, these scholars, they started now learning the irfan and marifat from Ali, and fuqaha started learning fiqh from Ali, then all of a sudden we see everybody is now making an effort to prove that if I trace the roots of my scholarship, if I want to explain that who was my original teacher and what is the source of my knowledge, everybody traces the roots and makes sure to prove that my knowledge comes from Ali Murtaza. They were not ready to mention his name, and now they are proving that everything what they have, it comes from Ali. And then sometime, in order to prove the seniority of senior people, they have to say either he was brother-in-law or sister-in-law or father-in-law of Imam Ali. Some of the false things what people are saying, oh fulana jo hai wo Hazrat Ali ka damad tha. کہتے ہیں نا ام کلثوم سے شادی ہوئی ہے, کیوں کہتے ہیں؟ کوئی کمی تھی ان حضرت میں؟ کوئی کمی ہے نا, تو یہ ثابت کرنے کی کوشش کی جا رہی ہے کہ علی کا داماد بنیں گے تو افضل ہو جائیں گے. کیا ضرورت ہے یہ کہنے کی کہ ام کلثوم حضرت کی جو سب سے چھوٹی بیٹی ہے؟ تعجب کی بات نہیں ہے کہ when the proposal comes for فاطمہ زہرا سلام اللہ علیہا, They mention in their own books, Prophet says, my daughter is very young for you, I cannot marry her with you. They mention in their own books that the first gentleman came with proposal, and Prophet says, no, my daughter is very young for you. The second gentleman comes with proposal according to their own historical records, and Prophet says, no, my daughter is very young for you. The third gentleman comes and Prophet gives the same answer. Then they go to Ali and they say, Prophet is not giving his daughter to any of us. Now we want to see if you go with proposal, see what happens. They were the one who encouraged Imam Ali to go with proposal, and they thought if Ali is rejected, then of course, meaning we still have a chance. But of course, when Ali came, that's all what Prophet was looking for. That's all what Prophet was looking for. So when the mother is too young for the gentleman, then this mother has Hasan Mujtaba, she has Hussain, she has Zainab, and then comes Kulthum, and then this gentleman is coming with a proposal to Ali for this youngest daughter, and you are saying that Ali gave his youngest daughter to this old man who was too old for mother. Someone who is too old for the mother, how he is suitable for her youngest daughter. But why they have to prove that? It means they feel کہ کوئی کمی ہے جو صرف علی کا داماد بنانے سے پورا ہوگی. That there is some weakness, some shortage. اس کو پورا کرنے کے لیے اب یہ ہے کہ جی فلانے علی کے داماد تھے, فلانے علی کے ہم زلف تھے, فلانے علی کے یہ تھے, فلانے علی کے وہ تھے. بھائی ایک زمانہ تو تھا کہ آپ علی کو پہچاننے کے لیے تیار نہیں تھے, اور اب سارے رشتے علی سے جوڑے جا رہے ہیں. ایک صلوات پڑھیے باواز والا. And again, my brothers and sisters, see the comeback of Ali. This is character. And this has a message. I am not a person who reads majalis only to excite people. So, there's a message that if you have a character, and if you are on the right path, and if you have the piety, and if you have tawakkul on Allah, then you shouldn't give in. You shouldn't become part of the corrupt people. You shouldn't bend down to the pressures of these other people. You should only bow down in front of Allah. You should only please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You should remain on the right path. Remain on your own standards. Remain man of principles. If you have principles, and if you have character, and if you have tawakkul in Allah, if Allah is with you, nobody can dump you. You will come back, and you will become again the hero, as Ali became come back, and as he was the hero. Because many of us, we feel pressures. Many of us, we feel that if somebody will leave me, then what will happen with me? If people abandon me, then what will happen with me? Everybody had abandoned Ali. And Ali had a time when Hazrat Fatima Zahra, she says, Ali, I heard that people are not saying salam to you. Ali had those days also. People are not saying salam to you. And Ali said, Fatima, if it was only that much, I could still bear. But situation is that I say salam to people, and they don't respond to my salam. They don't respond to my salam. Ali was abandoned, left alone. But then what happened? Ali was man of God. Ali was man of character. Ali was man of principles. Ali was man of spirit. Ali was man of knowledge. Ali was man of intellect. He conquered those hearts and those minds with his knowledge and with his spirit and with his character. And then we all know Ali alayhi salatu wassalam, his legacy starts after his death, after his shahadat. When people who were offended by him or people who were feeling inferior to him, now when he is not around, now they can appreciate who he was. History says that when one companion of Ali, at one time he was brought in front of Muawiyah, and Muawiyah asked him about Ali, his personal experience of Ali. And when this loyal companion of Imam Ali, when he described Imam Ali, his character, his person, his personality, this is the history book of Ahlus Sunnah. They say when this man was speaking about Ali, the tears were flowing from the eyes of Muawiyah. Tears were flowing from the eyes of Muawiyah. And then he said, yes, I can't agree any more with you. This is how Abul Hasan was. This is how Abul Hasan was. So, many people, now when Ali was not around, they felt that what precious life and what precious leader they had lost. I cannot explain to you what was the situation on this 21st of Ramadan in Kufa. Even those who had retired and those who had abandoned Ali, when they heard Ali is martyred, کوفہ کی گلیاں اور کوفہ کے بازار آہو بکا سے گونج رہے تھے. And then later on, after every generation appreciates Ali more than the previous generation. Time came, the people who were not ready to accept him as a good servant of God, people went to extent when they took Ali himself as a God. کوئی اندازہ ہے؟ یعنی there was a time when you are not accepting him as Waliullah, and now you are accepting him as Allah himself. Can you understand? How much popularity, how much hero and how popular he had come in the masses, that people are ready to claim that he is their Lord and God, and they got so much confused about him. It doesn't happen like this. It means Ali had come back after his death, after his shahadat, through his knowledge, through his piety, through his character, and people were so much under his charisma that now they are even ready to accept him as their Lord and God. And among Sunnis, for centuries, many Sunnis had a firqa. I spoke about them in my majalis of Muharram, Mu'tazila and Tafzilis. Although they believed in Abu Bakr, they believed in Umar, they believed in Usman, but their belief was Ali was afdal than all of these three. Ali was afdal than all these three khulafa. And if you go to this book of Abul Hasan Ash'ari, and it is a book written by different firqas of Muslims, he says that being Shia and being Rafizi, or being Shia and being Shia Isna Ashari, are two different things. He says when we say Rafizi, we mean these Shias who are known today as Shias. Or when we say Isna Ashari, then we mean these Shias. Otherwise, there were many scholars and many Sunni Muslims that who were Sunni and still they were known as Shia because they believed that Ali was afdal than all these other khulafa and all these other companions. Being Shia, they believed in Abu Bakr and Umar and Usman. What kind of Shia? Yani they believed he was afdal. You follow my point? So the point is, at one point they are denying him, but then they are now accepting him, and they are accepting him as afdal than others. And then finally, as you see, some of them they went to a level where they started believing in him as a God. This was not possible, my brothers and sisters. Ali didn't spend any money. Ali didn't lobby. Ali didn't compromise on principles. Ali just listened to that hadith of Prophet. He had faith in the words of Prophet that if you keep your relationship with your God intact, then God will come and He will repair your relationship with people. Because Allah is muqallibul qulub. Hearts are in the hands of Allah. We think that اگر ہم لوگوں کی خوشامد کریں گے in person جا کے تو لوگ ہماری خوشامد کریں گے. But if you do that, it goes only for a little time. But if you maintain taqwa and you maintain character and you do all that for Allah, then what happens? Allah goes and Allah brings these people all in your following and in your leadership. The best example of our own time, finishing majlis, in our own time, in Qom, we had a great marja taqleed by the name of Imam Khomeini. Just a modern example of our own times. There were people in Marja'iyya who were distributing their pictures, opening their offices, distributing their Tawzihul Masail, sending representatives even in Pakistan, India, Africa, everywhere. And this Marde Khuda was just sitting in Qom and only involved with teaching and with dars and only doing the work what he was used to do as a arif, as a Marde Khuda. People were coming to him, at least you print your Tawzihul Masail. He said, there is no rush. There are plenty of Tawzihul Masail in market. At least you open the office. My teacher went from Lahore, sought permission that we want to translate your Tawzihul Masail and open the office. He said, there is no rush. The other people have the offices. Let them do this work. I am doing something else. And then, my brothers and sisters, what happens? Within 20 years or 30 years, the people who were distributing their pictures and opening their offices and distributing their Tawzihul Masail, they were all forgotten, and everywhere there was one picture, and everyone there was one name, and everywhere there was one Tawzihul Masail, and everybody was calling Khomeini, Khomeini, and Khomeini came a buzzword in the whole world, and his name was in newspapers, his name was in radio, his name was in TV, his picture was on every wall without even printing it. Who brought Khomeini here? It was character, it was taqwa, it was that friendship with Allah, and it was trust in Allah, and it was not the lobbying, and it was not buying the popularity among the people at your own. So, my brothers and sisters, this is a modern time example which we can see. Recite a salawat. That others remain only Ayatullah or Ayatullah al-Uzma, and he became Imam Khomeini. People were used to start calling him Imam Khomeini. So, did he lobby? Did he print his pictures? Did he open his offices? No. If you are man of God, then man kana lillahi, kan Allahu lahu. Man kana lillahi, kan Allahu lahu. If you are for Rabb, then Rabb is yours. If you become for Lord, if you become Lord's property, then Lord says that I am at your disposal. That was the muamala of Ali. Brothers and sisters, it was not only tasawwuf and irfan. Just 2 or 3 examples and then we finish the majlis. Ali was a man who was totally a different man. A man who came to introduce a new vision, new principles, a new interpretation of Islam, and the true interpretation of Islam. In Arab society, among the Arabs, it was looked down that if you were men of skills, Arabs were all businessmen. If you want to be a nobleman, then just be a businessman or a landlord. But if you do any kind of work, if you are a handyman or if you have any technical skill, then you are always looked down. They had always some black slaves or some slaves from other nationalities or some of those very poor people from Arabs who were used to do these kind of things. And then Imam Ali comes and he takes his position on this issue and he says, Qimatul mar'i. It is in Nahjul Balagha. Qimatul mar'i mimma yuhsinuhu. Qimatul mar'i ma yuhsinuhu. That your whole worth is actually based on your productivity. Your whole worth is based on your productivity. If you produce something and if you are productive, then you are a valuable individual of the society. But if you don't produce anything, then you are not valuable person. And he became friend of all those people of skills in Medina, in Kufa. And Imam Ali was used to go and sit with them and encourage them to continue their work. And there are many stories that many of skillful people, they would come and seek the assistance and advice from Imam Ali alayhi salatu wassalam. Then, just to tell you how Ali was different, it was perfectly acceptable in Arab culture that when you are in war and you are fighting with your enemy, then you can stop the excess of water on your enemies. This was accepted. This was a culture. This was culture of Arabs, that in the battlefield, you rush and you go to put your tents next to water and control the water. If you read the history of Battle of Badr, when Prophet was going with his army and he knew that if we didn't go first, these people of Quraysh from Makkah will come and they will take the control of the well of Badr. Badr was a name of well, ek kuआं tha, jiska naam tha Badr. Prophet said, if we don't go there, they will come and they will take control of that and then they won't allow us the water, because Prophet knew the culture. We know what happened in the Siffin. We know what happened in Siffin. First time in the culture of Arabs and in the history of Islam, Ali comes and introduces a reform to this Jahili system. And Ali, first of all, sends his soldiers to go and push them back and take this Furat, take this Nahr in their control. And when they took in their control, now the generals and the soldiers of Ali, they come back and they say, Mawla, now it is in our control and we are not going to let them come and take the water. Ali says, no, then what is difference between Ali and Muawiyah? What is the difference between Ali and Muawiyah? What is the difference between this vision of Islam and that Jahil vision of Islam? In Islamic history, in Arab history, this was the first incident that Imam Ali goes, controls on the water and then says, no, water is for both armies. We will take water, let them come and take the water. This was the character of Imam Ali. And when Imam Ali had these kind of examples and this kind of life, of course, people were used to get impressed by him and he became more popular and more popular and more popular. Then, the other thing, it was perfectly acceptable to bargain and negotiate and buy the loyalties of the people from the other camp. Muawiyah did that. Every politician did that. But you know, every historian has agreed that Ali never spent one penny to buy anybody's loyalty. While Ali was Amirul Mu'mineen and Khalifatul Muslimin of most part of Islamic empire, his treasury was much bigger than the treasury of Muawiyah, because Muawiyah had only Syria in his hand at that time. وہ تو ایک صوبے کا حاکم تھا اور علی پورے ملک کے حاکم تھے. If Ali wanted to compete with Muawiyah and if Ali wanted to spend money and buy the loyalties of people, Ali could do that job much better and at much larger scale than what Muawiyah did. But Ali proved that Ali is a man of spirit. Ali is a man of character. Ali is a man of principles. And Ali will hold the higher road. And Ali will not go that down to buy people. And Ali alayhi salatu wasalam remain on his principles. I asked, no, he bought people and Ali didn't buy people. Today you know that what is happening in Najaf, what is happening in Iraq. The Qabr and Rawza of Ali is mazar for millions of people, and they go and pay respect to Ali, and they are writing about Ali, and they are speaking about Ali. How many people are there going any time in the year to pay a visit to the grave of Muawiyah, or they are going and visiting him, or they are writing about him, or they are speaking about him. So finally, after the years, who was the one that who managed to come back and take all the influence and all the control in the Muslim world? It was Ali or it is Muawiyah. The last point, my brothers and sisters, it was also very much common among Arabs. The prejudice, ta'assub, the discrimination of Arab and Ajam, black and white. Prophet had to speak about that in Hajjatul Wada. In Hajjatul Wada, Prophet speak about that. But what happened after the death of Prophet? Again, slowly, these issues became common, accepted. That we are Arabs, we are Quraysh, we are elite, Ajam are Ajam, new converts, Africans, blacks, they are second-class people. Among these first-class leadership, we see Ali totally different. Ali has a khutbah. Read at your own in Nahjul Balagha. It is known as Al-Khutbatul Qasi'ah. Al-Khutbatul Qasi'ah is actually the longest khutbah, I believe, in Nahjul Balagha, which is focused on this issue of ta'assub, issue of discrimination. And Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam, he embraced people of all colors, all kind of people in his camp. And this was actually the house of Ali, which had Fizza as a member, which had Salman, Minna Ahlul Bayt as the member, which had Bilal as a member. So if you see the family of Ali, and then the legacy of Ali, and then you come in the family of Hassan, and then you come in Karbala, and you come to Karbala and see, and then later on all of our A'imma, Imam Ja'far Sadiq and Imam Ali Raza alayhi salatu wasalam, and later A'imma, even they married with African women. From the 9th Imam up till the 11th Imam, all Imams, their mothers and their wives were Africans. They came from North Africa. If you know the history. So this was the family, it was criticized. Why are you marrying with non-Arabs? Why are you marrying with non-Quraysh? Muawiyah criticized Imam Hassan Mujtaba. He wrote a letter to Imam Hassan Mujtaba. He wrote a letter to Imam Hussain. I heard you married a non-Arab woman. I heard you married a slave girl. If you didn't have money, you would ask me the money. I would send the money. But you are Quraysh. You must marry a Quraysh woman. This was a letter of Muawiyah to Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam. But what was the answer of Hussain? Hussain said, you don't know that in Khutbah Hajjatul Wada, my grandfather said, there is no distinction between black and white. There is no distinction between Arab and non-Arab. There is no asabiyat between Ajam and Arab, or Quraysh or non-Quraysh. My grandfather did it, my father did it, and I am going to do it because this is the spirit of Islam. In Islam there is no black, in Islam there is no white, in Islam there is no Quraysh, in Islam there is no non-Quraysh. Islam says you all are from Adam and Hawa, and this is the deen of Ali and Ali. And that made Ali stand very tall, and that brought so many converts from North Africa to Ali. You know, the very first governments of Shias were formed in North Africa, in Morocco, in Tunisia, in those areas, and then in Egypt. And then we got government in Iran and we got government in Syria and in those areas. But the first Shi'i governments were formed in Africa, whether it is Tunis, whether it is Morocco, or it was Egypt. The Ali was man of different vision, man of different principles, man of different character. And if you are a man of that caliber, of course, you will come back. And my brothers and sisters, let me conclude here. If you want to see the difference between Ali and others, if you want to see the difference between Ali and others, you have to see not in the person, you need to see in their line of thought. In line of thought, in their family, in their legacy, in their tradition. Not only at that time, even today, family of Ali. Ali is a man that his Chashma Faiz continued even after his martyrdom, after his shahadat. It is not only Ali that who made a contribution. Ali's second generation, third generation, fourth generation, fifth generation, sixth generation. You keep counting. Ali is still contributing. Ali's fikr is still contributing. And Ali is even contributing today. If today you want to see what is the fikr of Ali, what is the falsafa of Ali, look at Iran, look at Lebanon, look at Iraq, and you will see that these are the children of Ali. These are the followers of Ali who are holding the flag of Ali in their hand. They don't come and they don't do suicidal bombing. They don't come and kill from people from back. They don't come and kill people from back. These are the people that if they are going to confront anybody, they will confront from the face. They will come from forward. So if today you want to see what is the Ali and Fikr Ali, so see the system in Iran. We don't claim the system of Iran is perfect. We don't say that Iran is a perfect state as Ali wanted to see, but still it has some reflection of that one tajalli of that one color of Ali. The color of Ali you can see in Iran. I can quote you many, many examples that how it is different. And then you compare this with Saudi Arabia. You compare this with Kuwait. You compare this even with this Misr today and see what is situation now in Egypt and see what is situation in Iran and what is situation in Lebanon and what is situation in Syria. Whole world has surrounded Syria and everybody thought we are going to conquer Syria because we have weapons, we have money. The Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Kuwait, Libya and all their western allies, they came together to conquer this little country Syria and they wanted to take it over. Their ammunition is finished. They are all now defeated and they are coming back. These are coming back and they are explaining to people, we are followers of Ali. We are not followers of those who leave the ground and flee or who come and attack from the back. So my brothers and sisters, this is Ali वाले ऐसे होते हैं. Ali वाले छुप के वार नहीं करते. Ali वाले फेसलेस नहीं होते. Ali वाले बाकायदा अपनी शिनाख्त रखते हैं. हम बशार असद की तारीफें नहीं करते. हमारा वो कोई हीरो नहीं है. लेकिन हम ये कहते हैं कि अगर उसका कोई अल्टरनेटिव है तो उससे कोई बेहतर लाना चाहिए. You don't like him? That's fine. शाम के लोग जिसको चाहें अपना मुंतखब करें, अपना सदर, अपना लीडर. शाम के लोगों का हक है. लेकिन कतर वालों का कोई ये मकाम नहीं है कि वो आके शाम वालों को बताएं कि तुम्हारा सदर कौन होना चाहिए. सऊदी अरब का ये मकाम नहीं है कि वो शाम वालों को आके कहे कि तुम्हारा सदर कौन होना चाहिए. ये तुर्की वालों का मकाम नहीं है कि वो आके शाम वालों को कहे कि तुम्हारा सदर कौन होना चाहिए. ये शाम वाले लोगों का हक है, वो जिसको चाहे इंतखाब करें. और आज बड़ा शोर मचाते हैं, जी ईरान आ गया, जी लुबनान आ गया, जी ईरान वाले आ गए और उन्होंने आके शाम के अंदर ये कर दिया. अगले दिन हम एक मीटिंग में थे, मैंने कहा तुम्हें ईरान वाले तो नज़र आते हैं, जब सऊदी टैंकों पे बैठ के बहरीन में आ गए थे तो वो तुम्हें क्यों नहीं नज़र आए? जब सऊदी टैंकों पे बैठ के बहरीन जैसे छोटे से मुल्क में आ गए और उन्होंने कब्जा कर लिया उसके ऊपर, तो तुम्हें सऊदी क्यों नहीं नजर आए थे? تو عزیزان گرامی یہ ڈر ہے علی کا اور علی والوں کا، لیکن علی ڈے آفٹر ڈے علی جو ہیں وہ پاپولر ہو رہے ہیں، علی کا فکر و فلسفہ پھیل رہا ہے۔ اب پورے عرب میں ایک ہی ڈر ہے کہ ہمارے یوتھ شیعہ ہو رہے ہیں، ہمارے جوان شیعہ ہو رہے ہیں۔ آپ نے BBC کی ویب سائٹ پہ ایک نئی ڈیبیٹ چلی ہے، آپ نے سنی ہوگی، پاکستان میں بھی کچھ ٹی وی شوز نے، سر عام وغیرہ نے اس کو وہ پیش کیا ہے، میں اس کی ڈیٹیل میں نہیں جاؤں گا اس وقت، لیکن آپ دیکھ رہے ہیں علی نے اس وقت کہا تھا کہ اگر فلانا آدمی اس کو بند نہ کرتا تو کوئی بے غیرت انسانی ہوتا کہ جو اتنا برا گناہ کرتا اور اپنا منہ کالا کرتا، لیکن فلاں آدمی نے اس کو بند کیا اور اس کا نتیجہ امت بھگتے گی۔ آج 1400 سال کے بعد لندن کے اندر مسلمانوں کو نظر آ رہا ہے کہ یا متا کے نام پہ اور یا نکاح مسیار کے نام پہ اس مشکل کو حل کرنے کی کوشش کی جا رہی ہے جس کو 1400 سال پہلے مشکل کشا نے حل کر دیا۔ اور علی وہ ویژنری ہے کہ جس نے دیکھ لیا تھا عزیزو کہ اب مدینہ کو اس سے زیادہ دارالخلافہ نہیں رکھا جا سکتا۔ مدینہ کے اندر جو بلڈ شیڈ ہوا تھا قتل عثمان کے موقع پہ، علی جانتے تھے، علی کی نظر مستقبل پہ تھی، علی مکہ اور مدینہ کی حرمت کے قائل تھے۔ آپ نے دیکھا ہمارے تیسرے امام حسین نے بھی مدینہ اور مکہ چھوڑا، عراق میں آئے۔ اگر خون بہنا ہے تو عراق کے ریگزار پہ بہے، اگر قتل ہونا ہے تو حرم سے دور کہیں قتل ہو، حد کے حرمت حرم نہ ہو۔ یہ فلسفہ تھا علی کے پیش نظر، اور اب پھیل گیا تھا اسلامک ملک، اسلامک اسٹیٹ، اور علی نے مدینہ چھوڑا اور علی کوفہ آ گئے۔ یہ ایک ایسا انقلابی قدم تھا کہ جس کے اوپر کبھی پھر تفصیل سے بات ہوگی کہ یہ علی کا فیصلہ کتنا دور رس نتائج کا حامل ہوا، اور پھر علی کے بعد کسی نے آ کے ہمت نہیں کی۔ چلیں اگر علی کا فیصلہ غلط تھا تو کوئی تو بعد میں آتا جو کہتا کہ نہیں دارالخلافہ جو ہے واپس مدینہ جانا چاہیے۔ تو اس کا مطلب یہ ہے کہ بنو عباس نے بھی، بنو امیہ نے بھی، اور سارے بعد والے آنے والوں نے تسلیم کیا کہ جو فیصلہ علی نے کیا تھا وہ صحیح فیصلہ کیا تھا، اور کوفہ کو لا کے اپنا دارالخلافہ بنایا، اور کوفہ میں لا کے علی نے اپنے خاندان کو بسا دیا۔ بس اب ذکر مصائب ہے، یہ شہر کوفہ یہ علی کا اپنا شہر نہیں تھا، مگر جب علی وہاں پہ آ گئے تو علی کو اپنا خاندان بھی لانا پڑا۔ روایت ہے کہ کوفہ والوں نے آ کے ریکویسٹ کی تھی کہ مولا آپ اپنی بیویوں، اپنی صاحبزادیوں اور اپنی بیٹیوں کو بھی یہاں پہ بلوائیں، ہماری بچیاں آپ کی بچیوں سے دین سیکھنا چاہتی ہیں، ہماری بچیاں آپ کی بچیوں کو اپنے رول ماڈل کے طور پہ دیکھنا چاہتی ہیں۔ علی نے اپنے بیٹوں کو مدینہ بھیجا کہ جاؤ میری بیٹیوں کو کوفہ لے کے آؤ۔ طویل داستان ہے، لیکن ایک جملے میں یہ کہ جب کوفہ کے نزدیک پہنچ گئے تھے نا امام حسن مجتبیٰ اپنی بہنوں کو لے کے، تو کہتے ہیں کہ ابھی کوئی دوپہر کا وقت تھا، حسن مجتبیٰ نے کوفہ کے باہر ایک جگہ پہ پڑاؤ ڈال دیا اور انتظار کیا کہ رات کی تاریکی چھائے گی تو حسن زینب و کلثوم کو لے کے، بہنوں کو لے کے کوفہ کے اندر داخل ہوں گے۔ رات کا وقت تھا جب علی کے غیور بیٹے اپنی بہنوں کو لے کے کوفہ کے اندر داخل ہوئے تھے، اور کوفہ کے اندر پھر زینب اور کلثوم کی وہ عزت تھی، وہ احترام تھا کہ کوفہ کی سینکڑوں بچیاں اور عورتیں وہ آ کے دین سیکھا کرتی تھی زینب و کلثوم سے۔ ایسے ماحول کے اندر آپ تصور فرما لیں کہ جب ان سب بچیوں اور عورتوں کو خبر ہو گئی کہ زینب و کلثوم کا بابا زخمی ہو چکا ہے، تو آپ کا خیال ہے کہ وہ بچیاں اور وہ عورتیں کوئی اپنے ہی گھر میں بیٹھی رہ گئی ہوں گی؟ آج تصور کریں ذرا علی کے صحن کا، میں آپ کو لانا چاہتا ہوں ذرا مصائب کے لیے، آپ ذرا ذہن میں تصور جمائیں کہ آج علی کے گھر کا منظر کیا ہوگا. آج تیسرا دن ہے کہ میرے مولا زخمی ہیں اور بستر مرگ پہ ہیں. کبھی حکیم آ رہا ہے، کبھی حکیم جا رہا ہے، کبھی جراح آ رہا ہے اور کبھی جراح جا رہا ہے، کبھی صحابہ اندر آ رہے ہیں، کبھی اہل بیت آ رہے ہیں، اور یہ عورتیں اور بچے سارے کے سارے آ رہے ہیں علی کے آس پاس. اور پھر جب یہ پتہ چلا کہ اب وقت آخری ہے اور بالکل آخری لمحے ہیں علی کی زندگی کے، تو کشمکش بڑھتی چلی گئی، بے چینی بڑھتی چلی گئی. اور علی کے چاہنے والے جب حسن و حسین کی پریشانی کو دیکھتے تو ان کی پریشانی میں اضافہ ہو جاتا، اور زینب کی چاہنے والیاں جب زینب کو پریشان دیکھتی تو ان کی پریشانی میں اضافہ ہو جاتا. اور پھر جب انہوں نے وہ آواز سنی کہ جو بلند ہوئی تھی ام کلثوم کی، اور یہ خبر مل گئی تھی کہ اب وقت ہے آخری اور انا للہ و انا الیہ راجعون، اور یہ موت کا جب اعلان ہوا نا تو ایک مرتبہ گھر کے اندر صف ماتم بچھ گئی. اس وقت علی کے صحن میں ماتم ہو رہا ہے، لوگ رو رہے ہیں، گریہ کر رہے ہیں، اور ہر کوئی اس انتظار میں ہے کہ اب یہ جنازہ کب اٹھے گا کہ ہم اس کو کندھا دیں. آج جو ہم حسرت سے یہ تابوت کو کندھا دیتے ہیں نا عزیزو، یہ اس لیے دیتے ہیں کہ اس وقت اس تابوت کو اٹھایا نہ جا سکا تھا. ہمارے چاہنے والے، ہمارے جو کمیونٹی کے لوگ تھے، اس تابوت کو کندھا نہ دے سکے تھے. اس لیے یہ ہماری حسرت ہے 1400 سال کی، کہ جس کی وجہ سے ہم یہ تابوت اٹھاتے ہیں اور اس کا احترام کرتے ہیں اور اس کو کندھا دیتے ہیں. لیکن امام نے وصیت کر رکھی تھی اپنے بیٹوں کو کہ دیکھو میں جانتا ہوں کہ زمانہ دشمن ہے، مجھے دن کی روشنی میں لے جا کے دفن نہ کرنا، مجھے رات کی تاریکی میں میرا جنازہ اٹھے اور اس کی خبر کسی کو نہ ہو. جیسے میں نے فاطمہ کو دفن کیا تھا اسی طرح سے مجھے دفن کرنا. میں کہتا ہوں ہائے مظلومی علی کی اور ہائے مظلومی فاطمہ کی. دیکھیں فاطمہ دفن ہوئی تو ایک گمنام قبر میں دفن ہوئی، اور علی دفن ہو رہے ہیں تو ایک گمنام قبر میں دفن ہو رہے ہیں. اور کسی کو اجازت نہیں ہے کہ آئے اور وہ آ کے اس جلوس جنازہ میں شرکت کرے. علی نے وصیت کر دی بیٹوں کو کہ دیکھو حسن و حسین جنازے کو پیچھے سے تم اٹھانا، آگے سے جنازہ خود بخود اٹھے گا. آئیں گے کوئی جو اس جنازے کو اٹھائیں گے، اور جدھر جدھر جنازہ جائے تم اس کے پیچھے پیچھے چلتے جانا، اور جہاں وہ آگے والے جنازے کو رکھ دیں تم وہیں رکھ دینا. تمہیں ایک کھدی ہوئی قبر ملے گی، ایک کھدی ہوئی قبر ملے گی، مجھے اس میں دفن کر دینا، مجھے اس میں رکھ دینا، اور پھر مٹی ڈال کے اس قبر کو نشان کو مٹا دینا، اور پھر کسی کو نہ بتانا کہ علی کو کہاں دفن کیا ہے. عزیزو جب رات کا وقت ہوا، یہ جنازہ اٹھنے کا وقت ہوا، ایک مرتبہ آگے سے جنازہ اٹھا، پیچھے سے ایک طرف سے حسن ہے، ایک طرف سے حسین ہے، دو معصوم بیٹے ہیں علی کے جو جنازے کو اٹھاتے ہیں. جنازہ کوفہ سے نکلا، کوفہ سے نکلنے کے بعد ایک ویرانے میں آیا، ایک ویرانے میں جو آیا وہاں پہ آگے سے جنازے کو رکھا گیا. جب آگے سے جنازے کو رکھا گیا تو پیچھے سے جنازہ شہزادوں نے رکھ دیا. دیکھا پہلو میں قبر کھدی ہے، ایک قبر کھدی ہے، اور قبر کے اندر سے دو ہاتھ برآمد ہوتے ہیں، دو ہاتھ برآمد ہوتے ہیں. میرے شہزادوں، میرے بھائی کو میرے ہاتھوں پہ رکھ دو، میرے شہزادوں میرے بھائی کو میرے ہاتھوں پہ رکھ دو. ایک مرتبہ حسن حسین نے اپنے بابا کی میت کو ان ہاتھوں پہ رکھ دیا، قبر بند ہوئی، اپنے اشک بہائے، سلام آخر کیا، بیٹے واپس ہو لیے. بیٹے جب واپس ہو لیے تو یہ واقعہ ہر سال میں پڑھتا ہوں اور ہر سال آپ سنتے ہیں، لیکن یہ بڑا اندوہناک واقعہ ہے. عزیزو جب واپس آ رہے ہیں امام حسن مجتبیٰ کے کان میں کسی آدمی کے بولنے کی آواز آئی. رات ہے، تاریکی ہے، ویرانہ ہے، ارے اس وقت کون ہے جو بول رہا ہے؟ حسن مجتبیٰ گئے، ویرانے میں دیکھا ایک بیمار ہے، ایک اپاہج ہے، ایک ضعیف ہے، بیٹھا ہوا ہے اور کہہ رہا نہ جانے اسے کیا ہو گیا، نہ جانے وہ مجھے کیسے بھول گیا. وہ بھولتا تو نہیں تھا, وہ ہر روز آتا تھا, وہ ہر روز میرا کھانا لاتا تھا, وہ ہر روز میرے پاس آتا تھا. نہ جانے آج تیسرا دن ہے, وہ کہاں چلا گیا. اسے پتا بھی ہے میں اپاہج ہوں, وہ کہاں چلا گیا. یہ سننا تھا. امام حسن مجتبیٰ نزدیک گئے, سلام کیا, او سلام السلام علیکہ یا عبداللہ, آپ پہ سلام ہو. ایک مرتبہ سلام سنا نا تو آگے سے ناراض ہو کے کہنے لگا, جاؤ ہم آپ سے نہیں بولتے, ہم آپ سے نہیں بولتے, ہم آپ سے خفا ہیں. کہا کیوں خفا ہیں؟ کہا اس لیے کہ 3 دن تک آپ میرے پاس نہیں آئے, آج تیسرا دن ہے, آپ نے میری خبر نہیں لی. حسن کہتے ہیں اے بندہ خدا, میں تو کبھی بھی نہیں آیا تھا, میں تو آج پہلی مرتبہ آ رہا ہوں. کہا تیری آواز اس آنے والے سے بہت ملتی, تیرا لہجہ اس ہر روز آنے والے سے بڑا ملتا ہے, اور تو جب بولا تو میں سمجھا وہی پلٹ کے آ گیا ہے. کام ماجرا کیا ہے؟ کام میں ضعیف ہوں, میں معذور ہوں, میں اپاہج ہوں. ایک بندہ خدا رات کو آیا کرتا تھا اور میرے ساتھ بیٹھ کے کہتا تھا, اللہ کا ایک بیچارہ بندہ, اللہ کا ایک محتاج بندہ ایک دوسرے محتاج بندے کی بغل میں بیٹھا ہے. پھر وہ مجھے مالش کرتا تھا, وہ مجھے مالش کرتا تھا, پھر وہ مجھے کھانا دیتا تھا, پھر وہ مجھے پانی پلاتا تھا, اور پھر وہ مجھے سلا کے چلا جاتا تھا. اگلے دن پھر پلٹ کے آتا تھا. آج 3 دن ہو گئے ہیں, وہ بندہ پلٹ کے نہیں آیا, مگر اس کی آواز اور اس کا لہجہ وہ بالکل تمہاری آواز اور تمہارے لہجے والا ہے. بس یہ سننا تھا. حسن مجتبیٰ کی چیخ نکلی, کہے بندہ خدا, وہ کوئی عام بندہ نہ تھا, وہ امیر المومنین میرے باپ علی مرتضیٰ تھے, اور وہ شہید کر دیے گئے ہیں. میں ان کو دفن کر کے آ رہا ہوں. بس یہ سننا تھا. کہنے لگا میرے ہاتھ کو پکڑو اور مجھے اس کی قبر پہ لے چلو, مجھے علی کی قبر پہ لے جاؤ. کہا کیا کرو گے؟ میں کہوں گا علی اسی قبر میں مجھے بھی اتار لو, اب تیرے بعد میرے جینے کا کوئی